Public Television is made possible through the generous support of the Laura Moore Cunningham Foundation, committed to fulfilling the Moore family's legacy of building the great state of Idaho.
Coming up on Dialogue, what's the latest on wolves, salmon, and other species that the Idaho Department of Fish and Game is charged with protecting? We'll hear from that agency's director and take your questions next on Dialogue. Hello and welcome to Dialogue. I'm Marcia Franklin. A welcome as well to those of you listening on public radio and the World Wide Web. As America continues to struggle with an economic recession, you'll be hearing more about state agencies having to do with less. But what about departments that get no state general funds? How will they weather the times? One of these agencies is the Idaho Department of Fish and Game, and its director, Cal Gruen, joins me now. Welcome.
Well, it's good to be here. Thank you.
Now, Fish and Game, which has more than 500 full-time employees, has a budget of more than $76 million. More than half of that comes from hunting and fishing license fees, and the rest from the federal government and contracts. The agency receives no state tax dollars and recently had to dip into its reserves to balance its budget. Mr. Gruen, who has worked for Fish and Game since 1990, became the director a little over 2 years ago. Now, in addition to dealing with budget issues, Director Gruen is also poised to take over state management of gray wolves, a program which remains in legal limbo pending a decision by the Obama administration. We'll talk about that and hear what's on your mind about other fish and game issues. So give us a call at 1-800-973-9800. And before we begin, I'd like to say thank you for all the emails that came in today. We won't possibly be able to get to them all on the regular show, but we're going to continue. The director has graciously said he will stay afterwards and answer those, and that will be a web extra on our website. So have no fear. We'll try to get to as many as possible. First of all, I want to start with budget issues. As I mentioned, you had to dip into your, well, it's a fleet management account is what it's called, by $1 million to make payroll. How is the Fish and Game budget doing right now?
Well, we're deficit spending right now. I've put some spending constraints on the department. We're froze all personnel hiring. We're looking at temporaries. We've cut travel. But we are at the place right now that our revenue is not what our expenditures are. We have greater expenditures, so we're deficit spending. So we had to dip into our fleet management account, and that was seed money that we used to establish this fleet management account.
What is fleet management?
It's how we manage our vehicles.
Okay. And so licenses, which, you know, as I mentioned, account for about half of your revenue. In-state, we're still doing pretty well, as I understand, up 6% July through September over the previous year. So that's still holding steady.
Yeah, our license trends are holding steady, especially our fishing. Our fall fishing, we saw an uptick. And I think when times get tough, people want to get outdoors, they want to fish, and they want to recreate. So that's good news. But the non-resident, we're concerned about.
Well, let me ask you, you have a license fee increase plan. It's at the legislature right now. You changed it a bit. It was 20% kind of across the board, or not across the board, but kind of a differential fee structure that's complex. And now you've lowered it to 15%. Some licenses go up, others don't. If people want more information, they can go to your website. But what do you think the chances are of that proposal?
Well, I trust, I hope we have a good, honest, fair debate. We've been assured that, and I think that we're seeing an erosion of services, and we go to sportsmen and we talk about that. They're supportive. We've had groups meeting with us. As a matter of fact, we've had a number of groups, like 85 groups, support the fee increase, where only 4 groups came out against it. We talked to them, and 2 of those rescinded it. So I think when people recognize the services we provide and what they want, we've been getting a very overwhelming response.
But what about the lawmakers?
Well, that's a different question. So hopefully the constituents, but it's been rewarding. We've had, I think we're going to have 10 Chamber of Commerces support it. We hit all the newspapers across the state. They support it, and we have hunting groups. We have the Idaho Sportsman Caucus, and they have been meeting on Saturdays over 30 times over the last couple years. And when they came out, 28 groups, and said, we support it, we think it's reasonable and well thought out, I felt good about that, because we spent a lot of time. They raked through the budget, so I think we have, we're talking good services that people want.
If you don't get this fee increase, what happens?
you're going to see a reduction in services. And I think we have a lot of pressure in our department, not only on these species of concern, wolves, elk, but you look where our $34 million of license money goes, about $9.5 million enforcement, resident fish stocking, food's up 31%, and then we get into the aerial flying and trying to keep track of our elk herds. I think people are very interested in that.
Well, let's go to some emails. I know we've got an email about this issue of out-of-state license fees. Let's take a look at that from Jeff. He says, our cost for out-of-state hunters is still very low in relation to our surrounding states. We also have a very large portion of our draw-only units going to out-of-state hunters. Why are we not passing on a larger portion of the fee hikes to out-of-state hunters? That's Jeff.
Okay, out-of-state we are. When you look at it, about half the increase will go in-state and half to the out-of-state. But the out-of-state, remember, they're paying 12 times more now, and we're at the top like deer. The out-of-state hunters is not going to go up that much. I think it was 2.25. But for elk, you're seeing 30, 40, and even 45 for controlled hunts. So we're going to hit them. I mean, they're going to be paying a little more.
Than the in-state.
Yeah, right.
Well, Wendy has another email question that I want to get to about this proposed fee increase. She says, if the proposed fee increase takes effect, will there be more money to put more conservation officers in the field? We need them. The COs have way too much territory to cover to nab a significant percentage of wrongdoers.
True. But we have 104 officers. Right now, about 27 cents of the sportsman dollar goes there. So I want to maintain what we have in enforcement.
So if the license fee increase goes ahead, there won't be any more conservation officers at this time on the ground.
And I want to keep what we have and equip them well, right?
Okay.
But, you know, for Wendy, we have a CAP program, Citizens Against Poaching, and we need the eyes and ears, and that program's been going on for 25 years, and we've had 10,000 calls in, and that's led to like 3,500, you know, tickets, so we need your help out there.
One last question on money issues before we move on to I know your favorite subject, wolves. Stimulus money. Could your agency stand to benefit from some of this stimulus money, which a lot of it, President Obama said he wants to put directly on the ground on projects?
We are developing some packages. I think there's some opportunity for some fishing waters, they're shovel ready, maybe some of our hatcheries, and we are developing those packages, and they will go through the process in state government.
You know, I understand that while you have an overwhelming support of your license fee increase, something like 30% of the people who are opposed to it said to you, look, if you would move along with the wolf issue, we'll support the license fee issue. The two are becoming tied to each other. People are frustrated on this issue. Let's take a look at an email that we have, and I was flooded with emails, as I'm sure you often are. Let's take a look at an email on this issue. Pam in Pinehurst says, I'm a rancher's daughter. We lost more livestock to poachers than we ever lost to wolves, bears, or cougars combined. The wolves kill to survive. Man kills for sport more than survival, judging by those we're acquainted with, I believe. How many elk and deer do you estimate are killed each year by man, including legal hunting and poaching, as compared to the kills done by wolves?
Well, we don't like poaching. And we try to do studies, and that's unacceptable behavior. But with our elk herd, we have a 20% success. It could be 20,000. And you know, for poaching, we'll do.
But more are killed by hunters, clearly, than by wolves in general.
Yeah, at this point, right.
Maybe not in certain units.
Right.
But do you know what the numbers are of, you know, elk killed by hunters, legal or otherwise, versus wolves?
Well, I hate to get in the numbers game, but you know, our success rate, we have about 100,000 elk hunters, 20% success rate.
Okay.
And we've been doing some estimates with wolves. We've been asked for economic impacts. We haven't done economic studies, but in some units we have a good idea, and it could be as high as 10,000 elk killed by wolves.
You know, this whole wolf situation kind of reminds me, as I was thinking about this, as I was researching it, of that old Al Pacino line, just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in again. I mean, just in the past year, the wolves have been you know, off the endangered species list, on the endangered species list. Right now, there's a list, a ruling awaiting the Obama administration, a rule rather, to delist them again. We have an email from Dave in Twin Falls who says, what is Idaho Fish and Game going to do if the Obama administration doesn't take the wolves off the endangered species list? Please implement what he calls the 10J rule as soon as possible before the state's elk herds are completely devastated. 10J rule is kind of a way around, or while you're waiting for a ruling on the listing, to kill some wolves in certain areas.
Yeah, first of all, I hope they get delisted. We're 5 times over recovery levels. We want to manage them. We're ready. We have a good plan. If that doesn't happen, then we have the 10J, and we can protect farmers' livestock depredation, but also when they're having a significant impact on an elk herd, we can go and ask for opportunity to remove and take that pressure off elk herds.
And that 10J opportunity, you've developed a plan. I understand it's going to peer review right now. Then it'll be open for public comment. And will that that rule that allows you to start taking some wolves, will that just be used in what's called the low zone?
The low zone.
And that's because you feel that wolves are doing more damage to elk there than any other unit?
Yeah, we have wolves across the state. We'll see that in a minute. But we have 2 units that we're concerned about, the sawtooth and especially the low. And we feel that right now the wolves are holding that population down where they can't recover. And we've lost about 70% of our hunting there. Now before, a lot of that was other factors, but right now the major factor is wolves.
So how soon do you think you'll proceed with this 10J
You should see it out probably next week already. We'll be asking for the public review, then we'll make the request to control wolves in that unit.
Okay, let's take some phone calls. Dave in New Plymouth. Dave, go ahead, please.
I had a question for the director. How does the agency justify raising the tags when they know that there's a definite problem with the wolves in the state, and me as a sportsman, the ability to go out and have a quality hunt and see animals and nonetheless kill one, but just see, have a good hunt, an opportunity to have a good time out there.
Great, thank you very much. Again, this issue that I mentioned before, people feeling frustrated, why are you raising fees when they feel they can't see as many
Well,
animals?
17% of the responses we got were concerned, and the main reason they were against the fee increase was just what this gentleman said. That we have too many wolves, take care of the wolves, then we'll give you your fees.
I assume the answer to his question, you justify it because otherwise
Yeah.
the agency is going to go into the red.
I think we do it, but we definitely have to do the survey work. We need the aerial flights, very expensive, $750 an hour, to see what's going on out there and how wolves are impacting elk and deer and where they're not. And that's information I think the hunters desperately need if we're going to be effective in 10J. And if we're going to make a difference in those units that we have, that those elk herds are in trouble.
Let's take a call from Keith in Meridian. Keith, go ahead, please.
I'd like to just preface my question with, I don't hunt, but every year I buy a combination license because I like what happens to the money, and I appreciate the job you guys are doing.
Thank you.
But I'm getting real tired of hearing all this hooey about how wolves are destroying our elk herds. I'd like you to respond, sir, if you would, to the recent scientific studies that indicate that actually hunting does more damage to the genetic diversity of elk herds because hunters take the strongest bulls, the strongest animals in the herd, and they are not. They can't contribute their genes onto the benefit of the entire herd. So, is there any kind of program that you would consider about stopping hunters from taking the biggest and strongest of these animals for a while and let them procreate like they're supposed to? And the second, the last part of this question is, how in the world did elk herds ever survive back when wolves were here and we weren't slaughtering the wolves? How'd that happen?
Great, thank you very much. I got a lot of emails with the same question. The science behind your decision. Are the wolves really hurting the elk herds as much as you say?
Okay, let's look at across the state. We're going to look across the state. We're in area. There's many areas they're not. However, some areas like the Lolo, they are, and we know what those interactions are. And
because of the collars.
Of the collars, not only on the elk but the wolves, and we're seeing what the mortality is. So in that area, we're very comfortable. We're not saying across the state, but the Lolo, that's a problem issue right now. Our elk herds are way below objective, and they're going down 13% a year. And if we could get some of that pressure off them, they would be growing again. So, I'm not saying across the state, but certain areas we know that elk are in trouble, and that's what we're focusing on.
And the other half of his question, I got emails on this as well. How did the elks ever survive, when wolves were much more rampant?
Well, that's a long ways back. I don't know.
Okay.
I do know now, though, that we've had very good elk herds, and right now we have some of them that are in trouble.
Let me ask an email question here from Carolyn. Carolyn in Meridian. She says, why is the only solution to wolf management to exterminate 2/3 of the wolf population by poisoning, trapping, and hunting? Why can't the Idaho Fish and Game come to a middle ground with groups like the Defenders of Wildlife?
Well, there's bad information. We are not going to poison. It won't happen. We don't have trapping. We're talking about recreational hunting, and it's during hunting seasons we manage 10 other big game species. I think we do a good job with it, like bears and lions, and we want to manage them like we do other things.
You have 846 wolves currently right now, the latest numbers, 89 packs and 39 breeding pair. I believe you want to get down by several hundred though, right? Bring that number down, the plan, the wolf management plan. So some have said that that's not treating wolves like any other species, to bring them down by that much.
Well, let's look at recovery first. It was 100. The state says we'll do 150. And these are confirmed wolves. The number is 849. There's more out there than that, but these are confirmed. And we were talking about 520 as a target, and we have them broken in 14 different management areas with quotas. And I think we're doing more management, precise management on wolves than anything, because we're talking total mortality, we're talking about quotas, we have 50 packs that have collars in them. So I think we got some real precise management, and we'll do a good job managing them.
Here's an interesting email, I think, from Chalice, Alyssa. She says, we've been pro-wilderness and pro-wolf for many years. However, this winter the wolves have moved in closer. One of our dogs has been attacked when he stumbled upon a wolf kill. Do you have a suggestion as to how we can coexist? Anything we can do to protect ourselves and our animals?
Well, dogs are territorial, so you better keep a good eye on your dogs and not let them out. That's just one of the facts.
Is she, under this 10J rule, though, there's more latitude if a wolf is going to attack a dog, right, to kill it?
It depends what type of dog. If you have guard dogs, livestock, you can do it, but if you're on public lands with a hunting dog, no.
So basically her recourse is to just keep her dog closer.
Yeah, keep a good eye on your dog.
To her. Okay, and another email, Virginia from Meridian. Please have Mr. Gruen explain in detail why Idaho wolves cannot be moved to a different location rather than shot or trapped, both inhumane ways of getting rid of any animal. We know Senator Schroeder has a bill talking about the possibility of offering our wolves to other states. What about this idea of just being moved as opposed to being killed?
Well, in Idaho we're saturated, and what happens is we're having more packs get in trouble. They're going north and they're going south and they're getting in trouble. 30% of our packs are getting in trouble now.
We've got a map here of some of the packs, it looks like here. In the purple is all the packs that we know of now.
And you can see it's pretty well saturated now. In the upper end, that's the wilderness. We don't have good counts there, but you can look across, and there are many, many packs here, and they're getting in trouble. But if other states want them, I think our legislature is going to make them available.
And what do you think of that?
Well, you think we're going to get any takers? We can ask. That's what the legislature said. So it'll be an interesting exercise. So those letters will be going out if that legislation passes.
You know, I just have to ask a question. Are you worried that people are going to take this matter into their own hands, or already have, because of the frustration?
Yeah, I'm very worried because you know, we're talking just wolves tonight, and we have 70 hunted species, and this has been kind of held up, and they're well past recovery. We want to manage them, and people are out there like you lose a dog, you lose your hunting area. They thought government was going to work. When they're recovered, they should be given over to state management. It's not happening. Frustration's growing. People are getting angry, and that concerns me. That's not fair to wolves.
You're going to move ahead. The commission's going to set a hunting season for wolves in March, and possibly quotas in July or August, still pending a decision by the Obama administration on whether to go forward. But you're going forward, or the commission is, with setting the hunting season and the quotas.
Well, we want to manage them when that comes open. But else we use 10J. But remember, when you look at the counts, I think our counts were like 150 more wolves, but people don't talk about the 150 that are getting in trouble, and there's mortality.
Okay, folks, we're going to move on from this, but as I said, the director has kindly said he'll stay afterwards and answer a few more phone calls and emails regarding this. That'll be on our website, we call it a web extra. And let's move on to bighorn sheep. This is a growing controversy. We've got a situation over in Hell's Canyon, some bills pending in the legislature that would basically make it more difficult to introduce bighorn into that area. There's consternation over whether diseases from bighorn are affecting domestic sheep are affecting bighorn. Fish and Game seems to be kind of caught in the middle here. What's your sense of the best science on this? And
well, we want to work with you know, we want partners and work with people in the land-based operations and the bighorn sheep. And that's what we're trying to do. We're part of an interim strategy approach. But we do know is when bighorns get in a domestic sheep, they die. So we're saying what we have to do is keep them separated to reduce a disease risk. And that's the direction we're working in. And we have a deputy director in Fish and Game, Jim Unsworth, and one from Ag, Brian Oakey, and we're trying to work where we keep that separation between the bighorns and the domestic.
do you like the pieces of legislation that are pending?
We're taking a quick look at them. We're taking a hard look. Our commission is our policy body. We presented to this morning, and it's going to be more detailed. And this disease stuff is very difficult, especially some of these diseases, and you know, the authorities. So we will look at it not only legally, but our commission authorities for managing wildlife.
All right, let's take a call from Dave in Meridian. Dave, go ahead, please.
Yeah, this is on a different subject. It's about turkey hunting.
Could you please speak up, Dave?
Yeah, this is on a different subject about turkey hunting. Previous year and this year, they have changed the youth hunt to where it runs right into the general hunt. And don't get me wrong, I think the youth hunt for the kids is good, but why are you not putting a gap between the youth hunt and the general hunt to avoid a conflict with two different groups of hunters out there in the woods at the same time, where you got the youth hunt going on while another group of hunters are out there the same day trying to put the birds to roost the day before their season opens.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for your question. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You know, that's a good thought. We'll see how it goes. Sometimes it's the same group of hunters. They try to get the opportunity for the youth first. They're out there, and they go after the next day. If there's interference, we'll have to reconsider. But a lot of times it's the same hunters, and they're trying to get that special opportunity for the youth first.
Let's talk about salmon season.
Oh, yeah. Good news. Good news. We project 105,000 fish. And in 2001, we had 140,000. And we're talking how it looks right now. These are projections that our share, the sportsman share of harvest, will be 20,000. Twice as many as last year. So maybe fishing will be twice as good.
This certainly doesn't mean recovery, though.
No, but we're having some good fishing.
What would it take for recovery? More like 60,000 over a period of a couple years?
Yeah, and those are different things we're looking at, right?
Mm-hmm. So what do you think accounts for the better season?
I think we've had good ocean conditions. I think we're doing a better job, especially in Idaho. What I have responsibility for, you know, the Fish and Game, you know, the habitat, our hatcheries, and our harvest. I think we're doing a better job there. And the ocean conditions, the environmental stars lining up. Can I show a special guest?
Sure. You going to go fishing under the table there?
I'm going to go fishing. There. You know who that is.
That's Lonesome Larry, I believe.
How did you? Oh, that's Lonesome Larry.
I remember Lonesome Larry. I've been in the legislature long enough.
Well, Lonesome Larry, 1992, he was the only sockeye that came back. And this year we had 650 that came back to Redfish Lake.
This is actually Lonesome Larry.
This is actually Lonesome Larry. And we only had 16 fish during the 1990s. And through good hatchery practices, captive brood, and work, we had 650 fish this year. We're excited about that. And you look at this fish, it travels 900 miles, 6,500 feet, the highest elevation. We feel good about the work done on Lonesome Larry. We have a ways to go yet, too, I recognize.
We'll take one more phone call. Brandon in Weiser. Brandon, go ahead, please.
Yeah, my question is, you knew there was going to be a down season in deer hunting this year, but you guys went ahead and put an extra 1,500 tags on for sale for whitetail, and you already knew it was going to be down. I'm just curious why.
Well, we're looking at the regulations right now. We were down this past year, according to our check stations, especially northern Idaho, for whitetail. And that's something we'll be discussing, and we're going to have public meetings. I'm going to go to a public meeting Monday night and that'll be a discussion. What
And
do we do?
can Brandon go to that? Where is that?
Yeah, Brandon, where are you at? What area?
Weiser.
I'm out of Weiser.
Oh yeah, there'll be public meetings there, and express yourself. And most of the whitetail are in the Clearwater and Panhandle, but express yourself, and we'll look at that.
Thank you very much, Brandon. I appreciate your call. I want to close by talking about an initiative that Fish and Game is involved in, as well as other agencies, to get more children to be outside. Let's take a look at a little bit of a public service announcement.
Do you remember going outside to play? When you rambled through fields and woods like a meandering creek? When life was about chasing butterflies, catching fish, and turning over rocks? Back then, being a kid wasn't about cell phones and video screens. You weren't inside, under a roof, plugged in. You were outside, climbing hills to the roof of the world. Let's give that childhood back to our children. Come on, Idaho. Let's go out and play.
If you're wondering what to do, feeling happy, feeling blue, be outside.
This is part of an announcement that people will see more and more. We can continue rolling the footage. It's very cute. This is across a lot of state agencies and federal agencies as well. I know it's a personal interest of yours.
Oh, it is. As director, I love taking and mentoring kids, taking them out. It makes a difference. And we have nature deficit disorder, that kids are losing contact with nature. They're spending 44 hours in front of electronic gadgets. And if you get them outdoors, it cures a lot of ills. I'm talking physical, mental, emotional. And that's what we're trying to do. And we have a website, Be Outdoors. Lieutenant.
BeOutsideIdaho.org.
There you got her. And our First Lady kicked it off. We need more FaceTime outdoors, and kids need it, and they're going to do better. And you look at kids right now, we're seeing type 2 diabetes, higher rates. And this never happened before. Usually those are in adults. And by next year, they're saying that half our kids will be obese. So I think we got to get them outdoors, and we got great outdoors to offer. So mentor a kid, get them outside.
Well, and on that website, people can find activities that they can do. If you are an organization that sponsors activities, you can find out how to list your activity on that website as well. And then there's links to all the state and federal agencies that are involved. We have that link to our website. If you didn't just catch it there, we have that on our Dialogue website. And believe it or not, folks, we are on Facebook. We've moved into the 21st century. So go to facebook.com and type in Dialogue on Idaho Public Television and become a fan. We need some fans. So we want all of you who are still on the phone lines to stay with us. Director Gruen has kindly said he will stay and answer a few more questions, and that web extra will be posted on Facebook and our website. And we'll answer a few more emails as well from those of you who wrote in, and I really do appreciate that. Thank you very, very much. We'll see you same time in a couple of weeks, actually. We're off next week for Pledge Festival.
Presentation of Dialogue on Idaho Public Television is made possible through the generous support of the Laura Moore Cunningham Foundation, committed to fulfilling the Moore family's legacy of building the great state of Idaho. To order a copy of this program from Idaho Public Television, call our toll-free number or visit us on the World Wide Web.